Let me describe your week to you and tell me if I'm wrong. You worked out 5 times, maybe six. You hit the steps, tracked the protein and the macros. You did the thing that you were told to do to make yourself feel good, and you're still awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're still foggy by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you still snapped at somebody and something you really love over something they didn't deserve. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a very old voice said the same thing it has always said to you. You're just not doing enough. Even though you're not speaking those actual words, that's the underlying feeling. Push harder, do more, figure it out. And I want you to come sit down at the park bench with me for a minute because I'm about to take that voice apart. I work with women over 40 who are burned out and ready to lead differently. And this is the first knot I untie with them every single one of them every time because you've been taught for 30 or 40 years that exercise is about the size of your body, that it's math, that's calories in and calories out, shrink the number, earn the food. Can't tell you how many times people have said that to me, and that is just wrong. It's the reason you're exhausted. Here's the truth nobody sold you because you can't monetize it in a January ad campaign when everybody's selling you fitness in January. Movement is not the primarily about your body, it's about the nervous system. It's about the single fastest, cheap, available tool you have to get out of fight or flight and back into a brain that can actually think. So let me show you the mechanism because I don't want you to believe me. I want you to understand it. When you live the way you live, running a company, carrying a family, taking care of maybe your elderly parents, doing all the things, saying yes to everything, sleeping badly, your body sits in a low, constant state of alarm. Your brain reads all of it as the deadline and the argument and the inbox all as one thing. It's a threat. And when there's a threat, your body dumps stress chemistry. Adrenaline first, then cortisol. Now, that chemistry is designed to be used back when the threat was a physical one. You'd run or you'd fight, you'd burn it off, and your body would get the signal. It's over, we've survived, okay, we're done. But you don't run from your inbox, you sit with it. So the cortisol pools, it has nowhere to go. And that pooled, unmetabolized stress, that chemistry is the wired and tired feeling you know so well. It's the racing heart on the calm afternoon. It's the exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch. Movement is how the body finishes the stress cycle. When you take a brisk walk, when you lift something heavy, when you get a real sweat going, you are physically metabolizing the cortisol and adrenaline that's been sitting in your system with nowhere to go. You are telling your brain in the only language it fully trusts, the language of the body. The threat has passed. We can stand down now. And there's a second gift on top of that. Movement pushes blood and oxygen to the front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. I've spoken about this in other videos. The part that makes the decisions, that holds your composure, that sees 3 moves ahead. When you're stuck in stress, blood pulls away from that region towards the reactive survival part of your brain. That's not a metaphor. That's why you make worse decisions when you're fried, and it's why the walk clears your head before it ever changes the size of your jeans. I meant the blue jeans, not the jeans in your body. That is not a mood boost, that is a mechanism. So here's the part you can actually use. Because if all movement regulated us equally, right, none of this would matter, but it doesn't. The type of movement decides whether you regulate or whether you rev. So, frantic, punishing, watching the calories, beating yourself into the ground type of exercise, that keeps you in fight or flight. You're taking a body that's already marinating in stress chemistry and you're adding more stress. That's why some of you are working out harder than ever and feeling worse than ever. And I've been there, feeling like I was doing all the right things, but I just couldn't get the results. Well, we'll go deep into that next week, but plant that flag for now. So don't forget, more is not the answer when the system is already maxed. Regulating movement is different, and you'll know it by how it feels. It feels rhythmic, it's unrushed. It's done because your body is an instrument you're tuning, not a project you're punishing. A walk where you can breathe through your nose and actually notice the world. Strength work done with control instead of chaos. Movement you finish feeling more like yourself, not less. So here's what I want you to actually do this week, 3 things, and none of them require the gym. First, once a day, take a 10-minute walk with the explicit only job of finishing a stress cycle, not for steps, not for calories. After the hard call, after the hard conversation, you go for a walk. You metabolize the chemistry on purpose. Okay? Second, when you train, ask one question before you start. Am I doing this to regulate or to punish? You'll feel the answer immediately. Let me honestly answer the change. You'll change that workout depending on how you feel. Third, notice how you feel 90 minutes after you move, not 90 seconds. Regulating movement pays out in a clearer afternoon, a calmer evening, a night you actually sleep. That's the receipt. So you want to think about later in the day, how are you feeling? How did that regulate your body? Start reading it. Now, let me tell you why I know this in my body and not just from a textbook. I trained for punishment for 20 years. Harder, longer, stronger, meaner. That was the whole religion. I was not in any exaggeration. The fittest, exhausted person you had ever met was me. I could outtrain a woman half my age, and I could not make it through an afternoon without wanting to cry or nap or both, because I was using the most powerful regulation tool on earth as a weapon against myself. I was pouring stress on stress and calling it discipline. The day it changed wasn't dramatic. I just got tired enough of being tired that I stopped chasing the burn and started moving to feel more human, like what resonated with me. I walked in the mornings. I lifted with control instead of vengeance, and my head cleared before my body did. The fog lifted first. The sleep came back. The size stuff with the blue jeans and the clothes, it all sorted itself out eventually, quietly in the background, but that was never the point. And that's exactly why it worked. It's not just for me. I had a client, a founder, genuinely brilliant, absolutely fried, running a real company on fumes and willpower. She was doing everything the fitness world told her and second guessing every decision she made, which for a woman, making $1 million calls is not a small problem. We changed one thing first, not her diet, not her supplements. We changed why she moved. She started walking every morning and lifting twice a week to regulate her system, not to shrink it. Within a month, she told me her decisions got sharper. She stopped agonizing. Same brain she always had, regulated body underneath it. That's the whole difference, because that's what this actually is. It was never about the size of you, it's about the state of you. And when your nervous system is regulated, the woman you've been trying to diet your way towards, the clear, calm, decisive one, she was in there the whole time. She was just buried under stress. Chemistry, you never got to discharge. This is the first thing we rebuild in the Burns Bench 90-day method. Movement is regulation. So you lead from flow instead of adrenaline. And every decision you make comes from a brain that can actually think. So next week on Burns Bench, we are going to be talking about overtraining. And if you have ever pushed harder at the gym and somehow felt more exhausted, not more energized, you do not want to miss this episode. Subscribe so you get notified the minute it drops. And as always, I will see you on the bench.